Bible characters, Genesis Series 5, Part 8, Dan. In the Bible, Dan was the fifth son of Jacob and Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, and the founder of the Israelite tribe of Dan. Here is a detailed look at Dan. Percentage. Dan was the son of Jacob and Bilhah, who was Rachel's maidservant. Name meaning. Rachel named him Dan, meaning judge, because she felt God had judged her and given her a son. Tribe of Dan. Dan is considered the founder of the Israelite tribe of Dan. Jacob's blessings. In Jacob's blessing, he states Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Descendants. The only son of Dan mentioned in the Bible is Hushim. Symbolism. The tribe of Dan is sometimes symbolized by a snake, as Jacob's blessings also states, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path. Samson. Samson, a famous judge and hero of the Israelites, was a descendant of the tribe of Dan. Location. The tribe of Dan was initially assigned a territory west of Jerusalem, but later part of the tribe moved to the extreme northeast and took the city of Laish, renaming it Dan. What can we learn from the tribe of Dan? What can we glean from the tribe of Dan? The tribe of Dan warns us of what happens when we do not wholeheartedly follow the Lord and have gratitude for his provision. The tribe of Dan challenges us to remain steadfast and trust in God. What does the Bible say? The tribe of Dan, named after Jacob's fifth son, received a prophetic blessing that they would judge their people, yet they often strayed from God's path into idolatry and discontentment. Jacob's prophecy over Dan was fulfilled through the life of Samson, a judge from the tribe of Dan. Judges chapters 13 through to chapter 16. He was a thorn in the Philistines' side and a mighty warrior, but he struggled to obey the Lord. He continually compromised his vow to the Lord and suffered because of it. He toyed with sin until finally his strength was taken from him as he gave himself to Delilah, who betrayed Samson and delivered him to the Philistines. His death, Samson brought destruction. In his death, Samson brought destruction to Israel's most persistent enemy. As Israel settled in the promised land, each tribe was allotted a portion of land. Dan was given a region in central Israel on the coast, but they failed to drive the Canaanites completely out of the region. Judges chapter 1 verse 34 to 35. In Judges chapter 18, the tribe of Dan wanted to seek out better land. They found the people of Laish, who lived in security, quiet and unsuspecting, lacking nothing that is in the earth and possessing wealth. The tribe of Dan failed to completely drive out the Canaanites from their allotted territory and later sought better land, leading them into further disobedience and idol worship. The tribe of Dan challenges us to prioritize God's will over worldly desires, to be content with His provisions, and to resist the temptation of idolatry. Learning from the tribe of Dan, we strive to remain steadfast, obedient, and faithful, trusting that God's plans are perfect and His blessings are sufficient for us. The tribe of Dan decided that land was better than the land the Lord had given them, that the land of Laish was better, so they set out to possess it. Along the way, they stole the idols of the man named Micah. They initially invited him along to become a priest for their tribe. But then his neighbors came out after him and overtook the people of Dan. The Danites questioned Micah and warned about his safety. Micah turned back while the Danites proceeded to Laish. There they slaughtered the people and burned down the city. Because the tribe of Dan was not initially obedient to drive out their enemy from the land, they became discontent with what the Lord had given them. Their solution was that the problem they created, oh my God, did not only destroy a people group, but it also led them to idolatry. The root of idolatry polluted all of Israel. When Israel split into the northern and southern kingdoms, Jeroboam set idols in the cities of Bethel and Dan, and the people worshipped the false idols there. 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 27 to 30. From the New Testament, interestingly, the tribe of Dan is not mentioned in the 144,000 sealed from the tribes of Israel during the 7-year end times tribulation. However, Levi, the priestly tribe, that did not receive a land inheritance, is listed. Revelation chapter 7, verse 4 to 8. What is the implication for us today? The history of the tribe of Dan reveals a sobering lesson about obedience, contentment, and faithfulness to God's calling. Despite Jacob's prophecy that Dan would judge his people, the tribe often strayed from God's path, succumbing repeatedly to idolatry and discontentment. This pattern led to internal division and spiritual compromise. We are called to obey God wholeheartedly and remain faithful to His commands and purposes for our lives. This means prioritizing God's will over our own desires and not compromising our faith or integrity in the face of challenges or temptations. Further, learning to be content with what God has given us is crucial. The tribe of Dan's discontentment with their allotted land led them to seek worldly solutions and ultimately led them to idolatry. We should cultivate gratitude for God's blessings in our lives and trust that His plans are perfect, even when they may not align with our immediate desires. The tribe of Dan challenges us to remain faithful, content, and obedient in our own walk with God, trusting His provisions and resisting the allure of worldly alternatives that lead us away from His will. Dan is remembered as a strong and courageous warrior, and his tribe became known for their military prowess. In the apocryphal testaments of the patriarchs, Dan is portrayed as having hated Joseph and having been the one that invented the idea of deceiving Jacob by the smearing of Joseph's coat with the blood of a kid. This is her grace, prophetess, professor, Smanya Abigail Carroll, PhD, at Visions of Glory International. Shalom.